Chip.
After all.
You're terrible.
I know.
Send you something that I need printed out. I just got it for the closed session.
Okay. Welcome to the Beaumont City Council closed session. It is 5:02 p.m. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember White, absent at the moment. Councilmember Lara,
Here.
Councilmember Carroll, absent. Mayor Pro Tem Santos,
Here.
Mayor Martinez.
Here. It is September 3rd, 2019. Do we have public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Pinckney, can you read
Yes.
items for discussion?
Item number 2, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 and/or 2 and/or 3, workers' compensation case COBM 0002, 0010, and 0024. The item number 3 is conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for property known as vacant land, APN 418-190-004, 005, 006, and 007, and 418-140-028 and 029. The agency negotiator is the city manager, Todd Parton, or his designee, and the negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont and Jade Real Estate Holdings. Under negotiation are price and terms. Item number 4 is conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for property known as vacant land, APN 418-190-004, 005, 006, and 007, and 418-140-028 and 029. The agency negotiator is the city manager, Todd Parton, or his designee. Negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont and Heslin Holdings, Inc., and under negotiation are price and terms. Item number 5 is conference with legal counsel regarding potential litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, one potential case adverse to Norton Rose, and that's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pinckney. For the record, Councilmember White has joined us at 5:04 p.m. And with that, we will adjourn to closed session. Okay, we have returned from closed session. Can we have a report out, please?
Yes, the council met in executive session. Item number 2 was conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 and/or 2 and/or 3, workers' compensation case number COBM 0002, 0010, and 0024. There was no reportable action taken. Item number 3, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for property known as vacant land, APN 418-190-004, 005, 006, and 007, and 418-140-028 and 029. The agency negotiator is the city manager, Todd Parton, and the negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont and Jade Real Estate Holdings. Under negotiation are price and terms. There was no reportable action taken. Item number 4, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for property known as vacant land, APN 418-190-004, 05, 06, 07, and 418-140-028, 029. The agency negotiator, city manager Todd Parton, and the negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont and Heslin Holdings, Inc. Under negotiation, price, and terms, there was no reportable action. Item number 5, conference with legal counsel regarding potential initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, one potential case adverse to Norton Rose, and there was reportable action taken. There was a motion by Councilmember White and a second by Councilmember Laura to initiate a lawsuit by the City of Beaumont against Norton Rose, and the votes were as follows. Mayor Martinez, yes. Vice Mayor Santos, yes. Councilmember Laura, yes. And Councilmember White, yes. And that's the report out from closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Pinckney. And with that, we will move into regular session at 6:09 p.m. Call to order, please.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Laura.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos.
Here.
Mayor Martinez.
Here. And Councilmember Carroll will not be joining us tonight. She called in absent for today. And with that, Mr. Laura, will you give us our Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand and join me for the pledge. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? All right, seeing none, any conflicts of interest to disclose? All right, proceeding, we're going to announcements, recognitions, proclamations. So we are going to start with the Eagle Scout recognitions. May I have Justin Ronald Dominguez and Kyle Nielsen approach the podium, please? Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining us today. We like to continue the tradition here at the City Council in recognizing the newest in the Eagle Scout program. I want to read a little bit of what we put on our letters for our Eagle Scouts. No doubt such an achievement is a result of many years of hard work, diligence, and dedication to a cause greater than any personal agenda. By exemplifying the high ideals of scouting, citizenship, character development, and personal fitness in your daily life, you have not only attained a goal which few others attain, but in doing so you have set a high standard for your peers to emulate. I extend my personal congratulations and best wishes to you on this great accomplishment. Congratulations so much on behalf of the City Council. So at this time, we have certificates of recognition for you. I'm going to call up Justin first. If you'd like to come up and take a picture with the council, and then we'll have you, Kyle, so you can do it individually as well. Congratulations. That's Justin. All right, slide it over. Okay. Go to the camera. Thank you. Which one are we trying to get now? We'll go to Nicole first. Okay, then Mom, you want in front? Yeah, let's get a good shot. Congratulations again. Great job. And on behalf of the City Council, we present the certificate of recognition. Here you go. Congratulations.
Excellent job. Good job.
A lot of work, huh? See where the height comes in, okay. Geez, I wonder where he gets that. Genetics is true. Congratulations. Gentlemen, it really is a pleasure to honor you here at the City Council. So congratulations once again for that great achievement. I never made it that far in Scouts, and I regret that, but I'll live through you, so congratulations again. Right next is the introduction of new police employees and promotions. Chief Talese.
Fix this here. There. Evening, Mayor and Council. Is that coming through? Okay. So very excited this evening to present 2 promotions to you and 2 new hires. We always like to celebrate our people, and so you may remember Sergeant Tasha Wells. She came here last year when she was promoted to corporal, and of course we had a process, and she tested for sergeant, did very well, and so I'll read her brief bio here. So Tasha Wells is the youngest and only girl of Reverend Richard and Modestine Bryant's 7 children. After completing the 127th Basic Academy in 1997, Tasha began her law enforcement career as a Seminole County Sheriff's Deputy assigned to the West Valley Detention Center. In 1998, she lateraled to the Redlands Police Department, where she worked in various assignments, including patrol officer, school resource officer, and investigations. During her time with the Redlands Police Department, she obtained her Bachelor's of Arts in Liberal Studies from the University of Redlands. And after 10 years with RPD, she lateraled to the Beaumont Police Department in 2008. And during her time here, she's worked also various assignments, including patrol, law enforcement fitness specialist, training coordinator, background investigator, field training officer, detective, I mentioned corporal, and she's currently assigned to the patrol division as a sergeant. Tasha has one 15-year-old son, Logan, who is a sophomore honor student at Redlands East Valley High School. So, present to you Sergeant Wells. And to her left is Corporal Randy Marsh. He grew up in Orange County, California, and entered the United States Air Force in 1995. He served as a security force member and served overseas in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. He received an honorable discharge in 1999 and began his law enforcement career with the Los Angeles Police Department in 2002. In 2004, Randy lateraled to the El Monte Police Department and held assignments such as field training officer, mounted patrol, homeless outreach, school resource officer. He worked undercover narcotics and was a member of their SWAT team. After 12 years with El Monte PD, Randy lateraled to the Beaumont Police Department. And since his time here, he's attained his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the American Military University and has held assignments to include patrol and MET, and is currently assigned to our patrol division as a police corporal. Randy has been married for 10 years to his wife, Emily, who's a teacher here in Beaumont. They share 2 children, Bryn and Austin. So I present to you Corporal Randy Marsh. Moving down the chain of years of experience, we have 2 new hires. We're super excited. So Hannah Poulter was raised here in the city of Beaumont. They know Mayor, some others. So Hannah attended Beaumont Unified School District, graduated from Beaumont High School in 2014. While growing up here, she's played various sports, including softball and tennis. You may remember her. She worked many years at the Starbucks there at Oak Valley and Beaumont Avenue. So she knows customer service. She's seen people at their worst, right? And then she's seen them at their best when they're walking out. So we hired her in 2017 as an intern, gave her that opportunity to show her service into the public arena. She applied as a police cadet and was hired in January of 2018, where she was trained in our records division. In 2019, she was hired as a Beaumont police trainee and started the San Diego County Sheriff's Academy, Class 214. She graduated on June 20th of 2019, and she's still currently in the FTO program, correct? So her father has been a fixture in this community for many years with the California Highway Patrol, where he's been serving as a sergeant. He's transferred to a different station recently. Her older brother is now continuing in the family line and will be beginning the Sheriff's Academy here in the next month or two. And in her off time, she enjoys the beach and spending time with family and friends. I present to you Officer Hannah Polter. And then Officer Yesenia Barriola was born in Mexico, migrated to the United States when she was 12 years old. She has two children, Janice and Jesus. I said it right. Yes. It's the Janice that throws me off. So in 2008, Yesenia was hired by the Cathedral City Police Department, where she served for approximately 5 years. In 2014, she lateraled to the Desert Hot Springs Police Department, where she served another 5 years. She's worked as a field training officer, school resource officer, and she's been a police explorer advisor for years there. She's currently working on her bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and she's very excited to start her new career with the Beaumont Police Department. So I present Officer Yesenia Barriola. And in closing, I just want to just thank council and our staff, because what we're doing here, we can recruit talent, and we can retain talent. As you can see, the experience that we're attracting with decades, you have 50-some years of experience here that we get, rather cheaply when you think about the other departments that spent their training funds and their money to train these folks, make them specialists, and then we offer an environment that attracts them. So we just thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Chief.
Excellent.
You bet. Welcome aboard. I would look.
Did we get it right?
Good. Awesome. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you, Chief, for that excellent work. All you do in your hiring process is great diversity coming into the city, so thank you for that. All right, so we're moving to public comment, excuse me. Do we have public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, so no public comment. Open, 6:21. Consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are taken as one action item unless an item is pulled for further discussion here or at the end of the action items. Do we have any public comment on consent?
No, sir.
Any wish to be pulled, or I'll entertain a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar items 3 and 4.
I'll second. Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. Right. With that, we are in public hearings. Approval of all ordinances and resolutions to be read by title only. Number 5, conduct a public hearing in consideration of a tentative parcel map number 37791 PW 2019-0005 for a request to subdivide 8.93 acres into 2 parcels with an existing storage facility on a 5.2 acre parcel and a 3.65 acre vacant parcel for financing and conveyance purposes only, located north of East 1st Street, south of East 2nd Street, east of Pennsylvania Avenue, and west of Commerce Way at 1422 East 1st Street. Whew, that was a long one. Well, hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Carol Kendrick, Planning Staff, presenting tentative parcel map 37791. Just want to give you a little bit of history on the project. The Planning Commission approved a plot plan in 2003 for the storage facility and caretakers unit. In 2005, a parcel map was recorded, and the subject property was shown as a remainder with an 80-foot street called Monmouth Avenue that connected 1st and 2nd Streets west of the existing storage facility. In 2006, Monmouth was vacated, and the storage facility was constructed over that vacated land area. In April of this year, the property owner submitted a lot line adjustment to adjust property lines, but that was based on the assessor's parcel numbers and not the legal lot lines, and they were advised by staff to submit a tentative parcel map in order to create 2 lots. They did that in July, and the Planning Commission heard the tentative parcel map in August and is recommending that the City Council approve the subdivision. Parcel 1 is a 5.28 acre lot that encompasses the existing storage facility. It does have existing curb, gutter, sidewalk, and landscape improvements. Parcel 2 proposes a 3.6 acre vacant lot with existing curb, gutter, and sidewalk. As part of the public hearing process, we did place an ad in the newspaper and notified residents, property owners within 300 feet of the project site. No comments have been received to date. The proposed subdivision does meet all the minimum development standards of the Beaumont Municipal Code, and it is exempt under CEQA under Guidelines Section 15315, which is a minor land division. So at this time, staff would recommend that the City Council holds a public hearing and recommends approval of tentative parcel map 37791 PM 2019-0005 for a 2-year period, subject to the conditions of approval, and direct staff to prepare a notice of exemption for the applicant to file with the county clerk recorder. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Public comments on the public hearing? Okay, so we need to open the public hearing at 6:25 p.m. And seeing no public comments, is this to stay open for another reading, or can we close this one at this point? Is this a 1 day? Okay. So seeing no public comments, we'll close public hearing at 6:25 p.m. Discussion or questions from council?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
So this is, we're doing this in response to a sale of the property, right?
It's for financing of the property.
Okay. And we vacated the street that would have gone sort of right just east of the storage?
It's west of the storage facility.
Oh, it's the street that it would have been west of the storage, on the edge of the storage then?
Yes.
Okay. And that's something we've done that is not reversible?
The building's been constructed over where the street was originally proposed.
Okay. That's all I had.
Yeah, I know in the report it says that the lot is large enough to be developed, or the parcel, the new parcel that's going to be created for the financing map, but Potrero Creek runs through there, and because of the creek, will that still give you enough developable land?
We would analyze that when they come in with a project, but they would have to address that at that time.
Okay.
And the zoning doesn't change, correct?
No, the
Everything's- okay.
zoning stays in place.
Can I, Mayor?
You're good.
On this one in here, I'm just, my question is, will be, all fees been, will be paid on this? I mean, when I say paid, including all the fees on the property lines, the benchmark and everything, they're not, who's paying for that? I mean, the landowner on that? Am I clear on that? I mean, I'm more on the, on the fees that are being charged on the property. If we put the benchmark on the property, because right now it's only one piece of property, and there will be subdivided to 5 acres, and then the other one is almost 4 acres, and there will be a benchmark on the other parcel. Who will pay all the fees for that? I mean, are we indemnify ourselves on that? I mean,
So I'm unclear what you mean by a benchmark on the other parcel. As far as, any right-of-way dedications, those were done when the original parcel was, in storage unit was completed as a singular parcel, so those are all at ultimate. Any associated building or impact fees would come along once and if there is a development on that future parcel.
okay, I'm talking about the, the property line itself on that.
Like a
The,
survey
surveyor-
monumentation?
Yeah, the surveyors and all those.
That would all be on the applicant?
Right, all borne by the developer
Will
or the
be,
applicant.
will be
Right.
on the developers on that
Correct.
side.
Right.
And then, Councilor Laura mentioned about the, the creek in there. And are we gonna put a, conditions in there that have to be non-developed, or is it buildable on that land?
Yeah, so prior to any development, those would all be assessed and have to go through the environmental process for
Yeah.
entitlement of whatever project they proposed.
Okay.
So we are not entitling any project at this time. It's merely a division for financial purposes to allow them flexibility, but there's no building entitlement associated with this.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So just a quick question, because I'm not quite sure. So by dividing the land, does that mean that it can be sold now individually? Is that what it means as well? Does that any disadvantage to the city to have?
No.
All right. Okay. Any other questions or concerns, discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Change the property,
Go ahead. No, Mr. Treasurer.
change the property tax status, going from the 8.6 acres to this vacant lot. Are we gonna have less tax revenue until it's sold? Because it's a vacant lot?
You shouldn't.
Shouldn't? Okay.
You should not.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the parcel map.
Mayor, I move to to approve tentative parcel map number 37791 for a 2-year period subject to the attached conditions of approval, and direct staff to prepare a notice of exemption for the applicant to record with the county clerk.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. Right, and with that, action items, number 6. Second reading and approval of an ordinance of the City of Beaumont amending Title 5, Chapter 5.64 of the City of Beaumont Municipal Code to peddlers and amending Title 5, Chapter 5.66 sidewalk vending.
Thank you, Mayor. So evening, Mayor and Council. We bring to you this evening the second reading of our sidewalk vendor ordinance. We incorporated a couple of the changes that you recommended. The changes to highlight was to change the language so it wasn't so specific under 5.66.150 about the width of a sidewalk, giving it the 48 inches, and we basically said, hey, give the pedestrian movement the sufficient room they need to ingress, egress, and then we modified the restrictions on the identification card. With that, I would highlight once again that it's a great start. We know that we need a starting point on this ordinance. The law is new, and between the police department and the city attorney's office, we're going to need to see what's working and what's not. If there's areas that are not working, we'll make those changes and bring it back to you. So our recommendation this evening is to approve at its second reading following an ordinance of the City of Beaumont amending Title 5, Chapter 5.64 of the City of Beaumont Municipal Code to peddlers, and amending Title 5, Chapter 5.66 sidewalk vending, and to waive its full reading.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Public comment?
No comments.
Okay, council discussion or questions?
I have a couple of comments and questions.
Mr. White.
So I don't think this is going to happen, Mr. Pinckney, but if the council had decided to vote against creating an ordinance in I guess, violation of the new state rules and laws, what would happen at that point?
Well, we wouldn't be able to, the state law is that they can engage in sidewalk vending. And if we do nothing, then it's going to be difficult for the police department to engage in any type of regulation of that activity. And so the idea here is, given the state mandate to allow sidewalk vending, is to come up with reasonable regulations that we believe are enforceable so that we can have some sort of regulation of this activity in the city.
Okay, so if we take the next level up and say that we do create an ordinance that does not fit with the state law, but it fits more with what we want to do as a community and give the police force the ability to enforce it, then what happens next? The state then comes in and files a lawsuit against the city of Beaumont, or what's the next process?
Well, a couple things. A, the state might do that, which would be somewhat extreme, but they might. Or the individuals that you attempt to prosecute or cite, you probably wouldn't be successful in citing them, and those individuals may sue you for violating state law, for enforcing a law that's not compliant with the state mandate. So it would be,
So I guess where I'm going with this is suppose some city decides that, hey, we don't need to be told by the state that this is what we have to do in our community, and we want to do something different. That would trigger a process where at some point, maybe through an individual lawsuit or through a state bringing action, that this could be judged at some point to be constitutional or not.
Yeah, I think you'd be violating state law if you did that. I think that the police department could be sued
Okay.
for enforcing a law that we know is in violation of state law. Whether this is popular or not, the state has chosen to make it applicable to both general law cities and charter cities, and so they've preempted city regulation for the most part, and they just allow narrow time, place, manner type of regulations that are related to public health and safety. And so I think that the police department and our office have done a good job coming up with something that's narrowly tailored and addresses the issues that the community has raised of concern.
And I won't take too much more time on this, but you personally know that a city can, as what's happening in Needles, challenge a state law. Because just because the state makes a law doesn't mean the law is constitutional.
That's different. So in that case, there's a U.S. Constitution that grants and guarantees certain rights, and a state law that city believes is inconsistent with the federal Constitution.
And
here
when
we don't
I say
have
not constitutional, I mean not state constitutional.
Here we don't have that situation. This is, within the police power of the state to adopt a law.
Okay.
So I hear you. I love the fighting spirit, but I think on this one, it's
I just
probably
want to
not a good
know,
battle.
because I am going to vote one way, and
Yeah.
if my colleagues all vote with me, I want to know, what's going to happen. But so let me ask you two other questions regarding the actual ordinance. We are banning this from residential-only areas, correct?
Right. So an area that's strictly residential, then the sidewalk vending is not permitted to occur in an area that's strictly residential. So into your neighborhood streets.
Okay. And we also, I understand, I got stuck changing a tire this afternoon, so I couldn't look into this. Hours of operation, are we limiting that in the ordinance?
We limit it to the other businesses in that area of operation. So if the other stores are if we regulate an industry, it's 10 PM, they're staying open till 10 PM.
So is it a geographical relationship between the others? I mean, if you have one business that's on the far west end of the city that stays open till midnight, does that mean the whole city, the
Right.
vending has to be allowed to stay open till midnight?
That's a great question. Let me see if there is a cap all around.
Says
Did you have it, John?
vending is permitted only between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. or 1/2 hour after sunset, whichever comes first, except that the hours of operation shall not be more restrictive than the hours of operation imposed on other businesses or uses on the same street. That's mandated by state law.
Okay, thank you.
So we've really tried to come up with something that'll be an effective tool for your police department to actually regulate this activity in a reasonable manner that we think we would be upheld in court.
And I think you're doing that. I just, like I said, I just don't think that the state should be able to force us to offer to allow this to happen in any way that they choose. I think that local government should have that choice.
But because, I will say this, but because the state involved itself in this, then the Fourth Amendment kicks in, where if we don't have a right to detain or a probable cause to arrest, then we could face litigation on Fourth Amendment violations, which are federal suits, not just state.
Okay,
So there's some federal implications as well.
all right, thank you.
Just a couple questions. So without this ordinance in place, we're not allowed to issue the business permits or vending permits, correct? There's nothing for us to enforce there if we don't have this
Right.
ordinance?
In essence, we'd be forfeiting our right to regulate,
Right.
which is going to go off the state standard, but we wouldn't have a citation means.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so this gives us basically our initial foothold, if you will. I know it's a poor choice of words, but this ordinance would be very dynamic in that we can look at what works, look at what's not working, and tweak it within the state requirements.
Right, so there's some local control, but there are state
Okay.
parameters.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Santos?
I don't know if this will be applicable on this. I mean, I know the vending, vending in there. Does it apply to the food trucks?
The food trucks,
This is a sidewalk vendor ordinance.
right.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no.
why,
Food trucks its own, right?
No, so we have a different ordinances on the food trucks.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Good. All right. Well, I just want to comment that I do believe that this is probably the best we can do under the parameters that we have to follow. And I like the fact that it can be tweaked, like you say, Mr. Lar, in case we need to. So it's not set in stone. We start somewhere. It's better than nowhere. And, sometimes the fight isn't at the local level. It's at the state level. So, sometimes we have to take the fight there instead of trying to fight it here. Anyway, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll take a motion to approve ordinance at its second reading, following the ordinance of the City of Beaumont amending Title 5, Chapter 5.64 of the City of Beaumont Municipal Code to peddlers, and amending Title 5, Chapter 5.66 sidewalk vending.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
I'm going to abstain.
Councilmember Lara,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos.
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. With that, action item number 7, approval of Ramona Animal Shelter contract.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the Police Department brings forth the Ramona Animal Shelter contract. We are asking for a 2-year shelter, and that will lock in our current rates, which are very competitive to any competitor, which would be the County of Riverside. And so the side-by-side comparisons of live release, things being equal or nearly equal. Over the years, Ramona's edged the county slightly, but it can fluctuate. So it becomes a monetary decision based on the budget. And so Ramona was best situation for us, and so we'd like to do a 2-year contract at this time. And so our recommendation is just that, to renew the contract for a 2-year term effective September 1st, 2019. I know it's September 3rd, but just couldn't get it to you at the last council meeting.
Thank you, Chief. Public comment?
No comments.
Council discussion?
I'm ready to
I'll
make a
entertain a motion.
I have a quick comment.
A quick comment from Mr. White.
Remember this when it first came up?
Yeah.
That's it.
Mr. Lawler?
We had a room full of people.
I'll make a motion to
Remember that?
renew the contract for your 2-year term effective September 3rd, 2019. Is that correct? Or did I say September 1st?
It will be September 1st. We have some invoices.
September 1st, 2019.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Chief.
You're welcome.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. That, action item 8, authorize the purchase of network security hardware and professional services.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before you, we have a contract to purchase network security hardware, including firewalls and switches. We also have a contract for professional services. Cybersecurity has been a threat across the U.S. and many other countries. Public safety is a major target of these cyber threats. Our current hardware is not compliant or is not up to date. It is a few years old and it needs to be replaced. This is something that was actually discussed during our CIP, and it was awarded during our CIP budget. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Public comment?
No comments.
Council discussion? I'll entertain a motion if not.
Well, I just a quick.
Quick
comment.
question, Mr. Santos?
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe it's just only a typo on the staff report. The date is August 20 instead of today's date. Maybe that's a typo in there.
yeah, this was an item that we were supposed to be bringing back a while back, and there was some contracts that had to be, the verbiage had to be changed, so that's why it's back on today.
Okay. Second one is the, we have the Golden Star Technologies of $47,177.11.
Yeah.
But on their receipt, it shows $40,000 on that. I was looking on their proposal.
There was a change in pricing. The contract that we initially got was for August 20th, and it was for 30 days,
Okay.
and the price did increase. That is another typo.
Okay.
So it is 48,000, whatever the quote says.
Yeah, it says in here 48,466.54.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I move to authorize the purchase of hardware from Golden Star Technologies for firewalls and switches plus 1-year warranty in the amount of $47,177, and approve and authorize the city manager to sign the VPLS professional services agreement for Fortinet firewall deployment services in the amount of $42,236.
I'll second.
Do you
Can we
need the
do a
48?
correction?
48,000, Mayor.
What?
It's a
Okay, with that correction.
Okay, so it's 48,466.5.
Correct. Thank you.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes.
And just for reference, I'll say that when you look at the staff report, when I'm looking that's from online, shows a subtotal of hardware at 45,527.53 with tax of 2,939.01, which makes it the 48,466.54.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Action item 9, approval of requisition greater than $25,000.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is our standing contract for our base CFD program administration. So this is pursuant to the web services contract that we awarded through bid last year. Again, this is the contract amount that was specified For that cost is what your basic administration process is. So it's preparing your assessments, filing all the necessary reports, providing and working with our financial advisor for continuing disclosures, as well as administering and handling all prepayments. Calculating prepayments is a base part of that service, for which we charge an additional fee to the applicant when they want to do this. So this doesn't cover that component. That's covered under fees that we charge per tract. So anyway, staff recommendation would be to approve this expenditure as presented.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parton. Public comment?
No.
Council discussion?
Yes, Mayor, real quick question.
Right.
So we have been billed today $49,700, and today we're approving $199,095. And then that remaining balance of $149, when will that come to us?
That'll happen as they bill us for services that they're rendering. So we don't do a prepayment. There's certain processes and actions that they take for which they bill us for. For example, each improvement area has a certain fee that's charged to calculate the special assessment for that year and then to file the reports with the county. So it's an itemized contract, and so as they perform duties, then they bill us for those specific duties under a specified rate that we have established.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Santos?
Let me follow up on that. I mean, because it shows in here first quarter, but the end of the, the render through June 30, 2019. So are we a different quarterly on their side? Look on the invoice. I mean, look on the invoice on that. It says in there, the services rendered through 6/30/2019. So it means, the quarter is different. I mean,
Well, yeah, right.
start
So
different.
we've got two, because you got the year end for the prior fiscal year.
Yeah.
And then we've got the services that kick in for the next fiscal year,
Yeah.
which follows
no,
July.
the number is
So
good.
starting
The
yeah.
number is good. I just, just wondering, how they, build us on a quarterly basis, not on the fiscal year.
Yeah, and again, this is, we receive an invoice as services are rendered. And
Okay.
so they're conducting specific operations through the course of the year, and there's certain deadlines for which they have to submit certain information. So, for example, a couple of meetings ago, we presented the tax rolls for City Council's authorization.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a significant amount of work that went into preparing those assessments and then filing those. So that's a bulk of work, and then we now get into the additional administrative processes, filing the reports and doing the additional things that are required. So it's not necessarily that you're going to see the same quarterly billing. It's just going to be dependent upon
On service.
the level of work and the services that they
Okay.
had to provide during that billing cycle.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm good.
You're good? I'm good as, Mr. Millman?
Just curious about something. On the invoice, it has several items for service for $1,145. It also has several other items for public service, $1,145. What's the difference? Sorry about that.
Those are the different CFDs that are done. You have certain CFDs for facilities. So for each improvement area, you have other CFDs which are established for municipal services. And then you have other CFDs which are established for public safety. And so these are the filings related to each one of the different types of CFDs, because those are separate and distinct reporting units that have to be assessed and calculated and then filed.
Thank you.
Do public comment?
I don't know, do they? Did I do public comment?
I don't know, but there's no.
Okay, so,
We asked
thank you.
already.
I don't remember.
Is there any public comment for the whole night?
Yeah.
I've got none.
I'm trying to get, well, you're really good.
Don't push it, don't.
Or I'll entertain a motion then.
Make a motion to approve requisition 825 in the amount of $199,095 payable to Webb Municipal Finance LLC.
I'll second.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos.
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes. All right. Brings us to item number 10, Review and approval of a conceptual design for the Westside Fire Station and authorize for staff to initiate the final design phase. Dum, dum, dum.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Yes, this item before you is as stated, the review and approval for the conceptual design of the Westside Fire Station. A little bit of background here is in 2014, the City of Beaumont completed a fire station facility fee study intended to estimate probable costs for needed emergency services fire stations in accordance with the general plan. In September of 2017, Trinity Partners actually granted the City of Beaumont a little over 6-acre gross, which tantamount to about 5.5-acre net parcel to ultimately provide a new fire and police station. The location of this site is at the northeast corner of what will be the new realigned Western Knolls and Potrero. It's included as attachment A in your agenda packet. In May of 2018, a PSA, Professional Services Agreement, was awarded to Claremont Environmental Design Group, CDG, for architectural services. Staff has now been working with CAL FIRE and CDG to develop conceptual floor plans and site plan layouts, included as attachment B in your agenda packet, and we're now ready to move on to the next phase of the project, which is schematic design and construction documents. With that, the recommendation is to review and approve the conceptual design for the Westside Fire Station and authorize staff to initiate the final design phase. I'm available for any questions you may have, as well as Todd Hopkins, Division Chief for CAL FIRE.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Public comment?
No public.
Council questions and discussion. Go ahead, Mr. White.
How many square feet is this facility? Do you know?
It's
I didn't see it. Just an idea.
It's about 3,000.
Okay.
Not
And
including the bays, but that's the
and I'm not going to hold you to this because I'll remember the Oak Valley signals.
Jeez.
What do you think the time?
I know, I can believe that. You are.
Do we have any idea what the time frame on this process is? I mean, we're approving the design, so what the next phase should take how long? And just give me a ballpark.
I think that if we can get approval this evening, we can authorize them for the next construction documents. We can be hopefully ready to bid this in about 9 months, 6 to 9 months. We should be looking at plan approval maybe in 6 months, a little longer, a few months to put a bid package together. And, contingent on funding, we're looking at construction potentially as early as next summer.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thanks. Don't put up any signs yet, okay?
Okay, got it.
He's going.
We take the Oak Valley
It didn't
side.
hurt to me as much as it hurt the 5 of us up here.
That's okay.
We will make sure to have your new glamour shots.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Laurie, your question?
I'm good.
You're good, Mr. Thompson?
Quick one on here, on the design. I look on the design, you say a police office? Is there a combination on the fire department and the police office? I just looking on the.
That's an area for the officers to be able to go in and be able to write reports and do some things like that. It's really kind of there to help with more time efficiency. So the officers respond to a call and then have them go back to Bosstown to write reports to take care of business. They can actually go there.
Oh, okay.
So it helps enhance service.
Very good. Thank you. I just like that clarify.
Well, I will say I feel a lot better having a design now, so I feel like we are moving. So thank you for that. And I know you've been talking to Chief to get collaboration and ideas and some revisions and so forth. So thank you, Chief, for that with your input. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the conceptual design for the Westside Fire Station and authorize staff to initiate the final design phase.
I'll second.
Councilmember White.
Yes.
Councilmember Lara.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos.
Yes.
Mayor Martinez.
Yes.
And Chief Hopkins did request that this does have the exterior facade of the Alamo for some reason, so it will be looking like the Alamo.
Okay, with that, item number 11, approval of compensation plan and salary table.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have an annual update, if you will, your compensation plan and salary table in front of you. It has some additions, some new positions, as well as pre-negotiated salary increases per the union contracts. Be happy to answer any questions you might have, walk you through specific changes if you'd like.
No, my only question was, this does have the negotiated terms on it.
Correct.
Public
And the new
comment?
positions added to
And the new position.
Correct.
Public comment? Council discussion? Questions?
One quick question.
Yes.
On the, there were some, I don't know if it was just the device I was looking at, but there's some lines that are grayed out in the, can you explain why those are grayed?
Yeah, those are unfunded. I put an asterisk at the end of page, let's see, I think it's 3 of 2 in the, let's see, I'm not sure how it printed out for you guys. They're unfunded.
Okay.
So they're positions for historical purposes. I need to leave there to show the salary in case CalPERS comes back and does an audit on somebody who's retired and what their salary was versus what the approved compensation plan was from City Council.
Got it.
So I leave those on there for historical purposes only.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Okay. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the compensation plan and salary table.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. Action item 12, receive and file the Potrero Bridge project summary and construction change order update.
Good evening once again. So yeah, this is a monthly update for the Potrero Bridge project and change order update. I know we've said this a few times, but both Phase 1 and 1A are nearing completion. We're still on target for an estimated completion at the end of this month. We kind of keep moving the finish line here, but some recent project milestones include the installation of the permanent erosion control, the slope paving and specialty cuts, and on the abutments themselves, the installation of the metal beam guardrails, the chain link fences and gates have been installed, and the grinding of the bridge deck skid testing has been completed. Some remaining project milestones to be completed this month are some Edison service drops, which are needed at the interim Western Knolls westbound ramps. The final signing and striping on the recently paved portions due to CC05, which we will talk about here in a minute, construction change order 5A. And the energizing of the lights on the new bridge, as well as the installation of the survey monuments. So change order 5A, the original construction change order 5 was on the plans was deemed necessary to allow for a connection between the southerly portion of the bridge abutment itself and what was the developer installed portions of Potrero near 4th Street, about 600 feet north or so of 4th Street. So there was a significant gap without connectivity. So CC05 allowed for that to be paved, as well as the base grading for essentially the entire width and some of the drainage structures to be installed. CC05A is a modification of that which is going to allow for complete paving, the full width of Potrero at 122 feet, as well as a curb and gutter for both the east and the west sides. The pavement will be a full section minus the final cap, which we will do in Phase 2 to allow for a cleaner product, as well as permanent striping to be done. There'll be some interim striping that will need to be done until Phase 2 does come along for the connectivity. So there'll be a transition from the existing portions of developer installed portions to the bridge abutment itself. So yeah, this contract change order was reviewed and recommended for by the resident engineer. Included in your packet is an updated overall project funding table, a revised breakdown in project costs, as well as a up-to-date summary of the change orders to date. With that, it is recommended that the City Council receive and file the Potrero Bridge project summary and construction change order update. Available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Public comment? Yeah, Mr. Hart, the connectivity with that extra pavement, that's a part of that September deadline, correct?
Yes.
So when
yes.
we open the bridge, we'll have that connectivity as well.
Yes, and the paving is mainly complete. There's some modifications to some of the inlets that need to be done, but there's some minor tie-in that needs to be done from the developer portion to this full width paving that we just did. due to some delay in the water line installation, not on the actual this project portion itself, but on the developer portion. So there's some minor tie-in that need to be done there, but there's also some minor completion work that needs to be done actually at the intersection of Forest Street and Trail that's supposed to happen this month. And when they complete that, they will also do the minor paving that needs to happen at the tie-in of these two projects.
Outstanding, thank you. Questions? Mr. White?
So it's going to connect to 4th Street, so I would imagine it's going to be another way for people who live on the west side of town to avoid trains and go through the sort of over Potrero and 4th Street to get to 2nd Street shopping area. Is there going to be controls on the bridge, like stop signs, or is that just going to be at 4th Street and?
At 4th Street and essentially at Western Knolls. At this point, since there's no ramps, there's no additional controls that really would be required.
Okay. All right. I just know we have a tendency of putting stop sign after stop sign.
Yeah, hopefully not at non-intersections.
So we buy them in bulk.
Mr. Lar, are you good?
I'm good.
Mr. Santos?
I'm good.
You're good, I'm good as well, so.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the Potrero Bridge project summary and construction change order update.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
I'm sorry, I had one quick question I didn't
Okay.
ask. The utility amount is mostly not spent yet. Is that all the, that was where I was going with the controls. Is that all the light drops that you talked about and the Southern California Edison service drops? Is that
Yeah, there's some of them. I think there'll be some that will be remaining at the end of the project that came in under, but that does account, yes, for some of the service drops.
Because there's like 395,000 of the utility budget remaining.
Right, and about 300 of that was for expected Edison requirements, and we're looking like we'll probably be under 100,000 for those costs.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Protem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes.
Use that savings to buy some stop signs.
Mr. Hart did say he could add some lights to it, but it would take an extra 2 years to complete.
Wow.
I know.
We'll be here all night.
Item number 13, wastewater treatment plant expansion renovation and brine pipeline installation project status update, and authorize an additional $100,000 for the city manager to execute agreements for archaeological, biological, and tribal monitoring for the brine line and the wastewater treatment plant for a total not to exceed $350,000.
All right, Council, this is your monthly update on your wastewater treatment plant and brine line project. On your brine line, we are about 67% installed between both reaches. So on Reach 1, we're continuing to work through. We had some good meetings with your contractor based on the groundwater issue that we talked about at the last meeting. So we did install some groundwater monitoring wells. As you can see, there were 43 of those installed. We just have a few that are still showing groundwater above our pipe. And so we're continuing to work through some additional options with the design team on how we can remedy that, whether or not we can change the depth of the pipe to get out of that water. Two of the locations are actually where there are jack and bores near the Potrero Bridge going into and near Olivewood. And so I'm not sure that those actually will end up remedying themselves. Again, we're next to a creek area and we're going underneath it, so those probably stay, and we'll work through that with the contractor. But that's really good news, because as we talked about at the last meeting, we really felt like that was a potentially large change order that could have been coming, that as we've waited and did some monitoring has been eliminated. 48,000 feet, almost 49, probably more than that at this point, have been installed on Reach 1. Remembering this is your very rural section, it's easier to install. They're not finding as many conflicts, and so that's why you have more installation of linear feet on this reach of it. However, that does bring you more weather days, and that's why you're seeing that 38 weather days there. We have approved those moving forward with the contract. Those have been substantiated and approved with your construction manager. 3-week look ahead is in there. On Reach 2, this is your very urban section, so we're going through lots of streets with lots of spaghettis, as we showed you what the potential of your street could look like underneath during your street workshop. We're finding every bit of that as we try to install our brine line through some of these sections in San Bernardino County. We are continuing to work with SAPA on that connection. That's something that we have to have approved. We have submitted those designs as of last Thursday afternoon after I submitted this report. Those came in, turned those around to SAPA. Have not received comments back, but I do anticipate I'll get that in a week or so. But we're hoping for full approval on that. That is one of the permitting requirements that we have as we work through not only the construction of your brine line, but then we have to permit to actually discharge. And so making sure that we have a correct connection that's SAPA approved is part of that permitting. You've installed almost 33,000 linear feet on this reach. And again, we're continuing to work through bores, installation, and then restoration pavement. You have your change order summary, your permit summary, and your project accounting there for you. Moving on to your wastewater treatment plant, pretty exciting. We are getting ready to install upright construction, so your building is on site and getting ready to be put together. You have a series of pours that are still happening. Things change out there every week, so as the contractor has to move around, they are doing that. But we are also very close to bringing back the owner-initiated change orders for the council to look at. We've been working through the design, both staff, the design team, and the contractor have been working on pretty much your chemical duct banks. That will be the first one that we bring back to consider. We've had some things that have come up, as we went through it with you the first time, some design changes that the staff really wanted us to look at, and so that amount may be a little bit more than we originally anticipated. I think that will be okay. We really seem to be out of the ground, and our contingency seems to be holding very well. And so as we bring that back to you, again, I think our numbers will still be good, and it's going to make a very functional product for your plant team out there. You have a 3-week look ahead, as well as your approved change orders. And then the last item that we have for you tonight, as you know, we have to do by law archaeological, biological, and tribal monitoring as part of the project. One of the things that we have encountered on Reach 2 is the Army Corps permit. So we didn't have to do a 404 permit, but we do have to do a 408 permit. You were number 78 in line for that. They had extinguished all of their funds for the year, and we're no longer going to be looking at any additionals, and so we could have been a couple years down the road. We have worked through the flood control district of San Bernardino to use what they call their 214 permit, which is a special permit that they have with Army Corps that allows you to pay basically overtime for the Corps to review your permit. We did that. We reported that a couple months ago that our environmental was actually really good. They reduced our amount. However, as part of that process, we have to do additional environmental things, and so that's where some of this $100,000 comes into. And then with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, there were some additional items in monitoring that they wanted as part of their permit on Reach 1. And so all of that means, this is basically all for biological monitoring, that increase to allow the city manager to sign a contract with our biological and environmental folks to increase this. That contract would be with Wood, who is your environmental consultant on this project. And so we recommend that you file and receive this, as well as authorize the city manager an additional $100,000. That $100,000 will be split accordingly between your two projects. On the Brine line, we'll take that from contingency. So we'll actually move some contingency funds up to the permitting line item to cover that. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Public comment? Ms. Day, you didn't break down the 100,000 into the three categories, but you said the majority is going for biological. So after we pay, we'll be able to see the breakdown of kind of where it went.
We will. So we've got an amount slated like for tribal and an amount slated for biological. Tribal is really up to the tribe as they decide to come out. Right now, they're really looking at excavation activities, and so it depends on how much we're excavating. They're not looking at anything on Reach 2 at this point. Everything is on Reach 1. I'm just saving an amount for them. But yes, we could bring those breakdowns for you as we get further along in the project.
And thank you for that creativity with the flood control, with the permit. That was just a tremendous, 2-year delay would just be devastating. So thank you for that. That saved us quite a bit. Council, Mr. Ryan, you're good? Mr. White? Good?
I'm good.
Mayor, I move to receive and file the project updates and to authorize an additional $100,000 for the city manager to execute agreements for archaeological, biological, and tribal monitoring for the brine line and the wastewater treatment plant for a total amount not to exceed $350,000.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. All right, and with that, number 14, appointment to the post-secondary education representative of the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight, there's been a vacancy on the Economic Development Committee related to the post-secondary, so that's our community colleges or universities, whoever wants to partake in the duties of the committee. The same entity, which is Mount San Jacinto Community College, has expressed interest in reappointing someone to that position. Just the individual that was there needed to resign. So she went ahead and did that, and now we have a letter from the superintendent of that community college district recommending that the city council approve his recommendation for Vaughn Lawson to the Economic Development Committee.
Great, thank you. Public comment, discussion, questions? Is Mr. Lawson here?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to speak if he were. Okay, well then I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Lawson. Well, I'll make the motion. I have moved to appoint Mr. Vaughn Lawson as the post-secondary education representative of the Economic Development Committee.
I'll second.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Santos?
Yes.
Mayor Martinez?
Yes. Okay, legislative updates and discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just passed out a legislative update that's off the presses that I received this afternoon from Townsend Public Affairs, and I'll explain that shortly. The state legislature is back in session. I think Sharon was telling me they have 9 days left in the session, so everyone's counting down exactly what's going on up there. Is a little bit of a refresher. On August 19th, the governor did sign AB 392, and that's on the police use of force legislation into law. This month, which would have been in August, a couple things happened which we found shouldn't happen, but they do. So we had 3 bills were gotten amended, placed bond measures on the 2020 ballot. You can kind of see that in the presentation that was a part of your agenda packet. 2 of them would require a 2/3 approval from the legislature before going to the ballot for the voters in November of 2020. The 2 of most significance would issue approximately $4 million in general obligation bonds to address climate change, wildfires, and flood management, while a third has not been amended to include funding amounts. Below is a summary of those bond measures, so you can read through those. Another one that's come up in recent history is the split roll tax, or Prop 13 reform, whatever you want to call it. Really what happened is the state has identified an issue related to the Prop 13 that was passed in 1978. And that was a response to increasing property values and property taxes associated with residential and commercial properties. A fun fact is back in 1978, when they approved Prop 13, the split between residential and commercial properties was about 50-50. And now we have seen the lion's share of those increases happen on residential properties, because residential properties typically flipped or changed hands every 9 or 10 years on average, but commercial properties are not changing. So that 2% limit in terms of the property tax that can be placed, regardless of the assessed value, is limiting the amount of revenues that come in through the state and locals. So they've put together this proposition that, to my knowledge, I think is going to require a 2/3 vote at the ballot, because it deals with state and local tax increases. And what it would do was increase the amount of property taxes and the different limits associated with commercial properties. I don't believe it's going to affect the 2% maximum on residential properties. So it's talking about a shift of, what was that number? $11 billion in additional revenues if the ballot initiative passes, only on commercial properties. A lion's share of those additional revenues would be voted to schools and local government levels. I'm hesitant to believe all of that's going to come to us, like the 60% that's being boasted, but we'll go ahead and monitor that with Townsend Public Affairs to see exactly how it gets proposed and what's going on with that. There is a detailed list of support and opposition, although the ballot initiative is for 2020. Very interesting that you see large dollar amounts of support and opposition already being voted to a ballot initiative at this time, but that indicates the severity or the level of interest, if you will, on that one. So we can all kind of monitor that over the next year or so. Cap and trade option, suspense files. So technically, the legislature had a deadline of August 30th to get things out of committees and onto the floor, and then the floor deadline, I believe, is September the 9th. Some of the priority legislation that we've been interested in has been listed on here, and that's a perfect segue into why I passed you out some information now. So when the agenda packet was put together on Thursday, committees were still being held up to Friday night. And so we've provided an updated list of all the tracking, or the bills that we've been tracking from staff and the city council level. Of note, AB 516, that still matches the staff report, so that one did get held in the appropriations suspense file. 849 has moved to the suspense file. The AB 1884, which is the retention of public records and writing transmitted by electronic mail, that one is making it to the floor. So it caught out of the suspense file somehow, and it should be going to, the Senate floor. It doesn't mean it's going to get voted on there, but it has a potential on getting voted for there. And then lastly, Senate Bill 13 has moved to the floor. Senate Bill 330, which is the Housing Crisis Act of 2019, passed through the committee and has gone to the floor. And then the last thing that doesn't match the agenda packet is that 542 that we discussed at the last meeting. And even the one I passed out to you today, it states that it's in committee, which means it got held, but I have it on at least solid knowledge that it's going to pass out of committee today and be eligible for the floor tomorrow. So we'll see exactly how that one is, and we'll monitor that. On the federal update, they're still on recess. Background is they approved the 2-year budget by the Senate in August 1. It has not happened through the other house just because they're out of session. Townsend has reported that there's really been no progress on those appropriations, and that may be one of the reasons that our assistant city manager alluded to, that Army Corps ran out of money. Well, they probably don't have a spending bill to actually be able to do work. So that it doesn't surprise me. It's just unfortunate. You can kind of see the down grassroots impact of the stalemate at the federal level when it starts impacting these types of things. And you can imagine if it's impacting us, how many other agencies or contractors it's affecting. And it has some more discussion on the cable franchising. We talked about that. Some sort of foam ban on fire suppression. And that's pretty much it as it comes to that. And then lastly, of course not least, are the new funding opportunities that Townsend has provided us that the different departments here at City Hall are reviewing and potentially applying for. And I can answer any questions, or at least I can try. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wasinski. Questions?
Just, Kyle, can you please keep an eye out on some of these emergency transitional housing bills? One of the concerns that I have is that the state is really kind of loosening requirements on these, where transitional housing can be used, or residential dwelling units can be converted to transitional housing. The concern I have is impacts on neighborhoods that these may have. They don't restrict parking, and so I'm wondering if we need to look at maybe doing an ordinance to get out ahead of this, because I think some of these can impact local neighborhoods if we don't have something in place.
Sure.
Mr. Santos?
I'm good.
You're good, Mr. Wayne?
Is this a linked document? Do you have a link to this? Is that how you get it, or does it come?
They email it to me.
And are all these live links, as far as you know?
They might be if you open up the PDF. Normally I just hit print real quick, but I can try to send it to you.
Can you just forward to me what you got? And the split roll thing, you know those cities are going to fight, or those companies are going to fight billion-dollar lawsuits to save hundreds of millions a year in taxes, and they're going to fight them against the county. And the county's going to have to hire the attorneys and fight them as well. So.
Can't wait for the commercials.
What's that? Yeah. It should be an interesting one. So, all right, that's all I have.
Kyle, the last time I talked to Townsend, they were in the process of getting ready to talk to staff about the parks bond and stuff. Is that, we were talking about staff, does that include some of those
yes.
funding? Okay, good. All right, thank you, Mr. Warsinski.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, council reports. We'll start with Mr. Lara, we'll go down the line.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing to report this time.
Okay, nothing to report. I have nothing to report. All my stuff starting next week and this week, so better. Mr. Santos?
I have nothing to report this time.
Nothing? Mr. White?
The endangered species for this week. Now,
Hey, that's take my thunder. That's next Monday.
I don't have anything to report.
Yeah, see, I got you. All right, economic development update. Thing is that front row.
I don't have any update for you tonight. We do have a meeting next Wednesday for the Economic Development Committee, and I sure hope that Vaughn is here, because I'm going to call him tomorrow and tell him he's now been appointed. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you. City Treasurer report.
Well, again, we missed a meeting because we had a holiday yesterday.
Oh, that's right.
But we are aware of the direction the council gave us last time on 6 items that I've copied, and our city manager and I will confer, and I will not be here. I made a mistake last time. I will not be here the next 2
Oh, that's
months. But if you could deliver those directions that we got, just review them with you. That's all.
Awesome, thank you, sir. City Clerk report?
Just a comment, the city manager's report came out today online. Very nicely done. I commend the staff for that. That's the kind of thing we need to do more of and get the word out in every possible way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney report?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. City Manager report?
Oh,
Yes, you're here.
wow, you're already. So one of the things that came up at our last council meeting under Citizens to be Heard was what I think a pretty critical issue was a concern about the city's responsiveness to a concern regarding overgrowth of weeds and vegetation. And I felt like it was pretty important for council to kind of get a walkthrough. This is a good case to kind of discuss to you what we've done in this particular case and kind of how this works overall. So she's got a very brief presentation to kind of walk you through. There's some good aerials that kind of walk us through this. So.
Absolutely. So cue up the PowerPoint. As the city manager did outline on August 20th, during public comment, a concerned citizen spoke to the weed abatement process. And I'll remind people that we're government, we have to follow the ordinance and the rules in place. And so while things are happening, it may not happen as quickly as people would like, but they are moving, and they're moving diligently through the process. So here's an aerial view of the property at First and Beaumont, backing up against South Palm Avenue. And you can see it highlighted in the red squares. It's a large acreage. Anything that's 5 acres or greater is X'd. When it's disked, it has an X marks, and you'll see that. You can see there part of the X. And I'm going to highlight this code here. And so this gives us the authority to abate the weeds. And as you know, when the properties sign up for our subscription process, then we're already on it with our contractors. And you all approve that contractor list. And there's 2 types of weed abatement contractors. There's those that do the large properties, the disking, and there's the contractors that handle the smaller work, the handwork. And so in this particular case, it started off with disking to determine if that would fix the problem. And so the code tells us under what standard that the fire chief approves this property. I consulted with our fire chief, our fire marshal, and our code enforcement inspected this property as well. And so you can see if you look at the photo on the right side of the screen where the fire break is outlined, and then it's X'd, and then it follows the tree lines. This is all appropriate work, and so you wouldn't remove everything, but you would prevent the fire from spreading. And so you can see there where everything is safely outlined and carved. And so on July 1st, I want to go back a little bit. On July 1st is when the city authorized weed abatement contractor began this work. And so as you remember, the public comment was on August 20th. This was actually occurring. The work had started 6 weeks before that. And then on July 8th, all the related disking was complete. It was determined on August 13th, our fire safety specialist, Horner, and our community enhancement officer, Huntsman, inspected it and determined that, yes, more work needed to be done under the tree line of the eucalyptus trees. And so the large work had been completed, but not some of the smaller work. Once that was determined, notice was given to this property owner. This property owner is not utilizing our subscription process. So notice was given with an expedited time. They failed to meet that deadline, and so we called for the contractor to go. This is about $9,600 for an additional work that we'll have to lien the property on. And so we try to get the property owner to take care of it, because if not, we're paying this money and then we have to recover it. And that takes time. And get you caught up to speed there. So this is the aerial view of the trees. And then you can see underneath that there are some dead trees. There's some stuff that would light up pretty quickly. Some miscellaneous debris there. Some other handwork under the tree line. You can see that. So definitely concern. All right. One slide wasn't in there, but it shows where the person that had shared their concern on August 20th. Their property relation is actually quite insulated with that fire break. Regardless, the work began today for that other work, and it's expected to be completed this week. And so we'll rest on that the work was happening and it will be completed timely. With that, I can answer any questions about the process.
And I'll add, one
Yes.
critical element to the timeline of all these weed abatement issues is the fact that we go out to RFP, right? So we have a purchasing policy that says we RFP these services, which we do, and we selected, I think, 4 contractors for this year to go around and do very specific work. So some of it's a smaller work and mowing and small property disking. We have others that are doing the large projects. And so, you know, this is also a time of year that we really are in, I guess, in the heyday, so to speak, of weed abatement.
Well, because of the change in the environment too, is we're not looking at a weed abatement season as much as seasons is now as well. So fire season's all year, and for the last couple of years, we've had to weed abate twice a year.
My concern is I see the invoices coming in for this weed abatement. What's our success on collecting that? You know, if I'm a property owner and it's going to be a hassle for you to get it from me, do we get the money? I mean, it's starting to add up.
In this case, it'll be on the tax.
Okay,
Property
that's
tax.
what goes on to their tax.
So we'll get the money.
And if they don't pay their taxes, then they've got even bigger issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a tax lien on that.
Just I think everybody needs to know that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm good. I appreciate the quick response.
Yes, very good, very
Yeah.
detailed, thank you.
We appreciate that. That's good. Good job.
You're welcome, sir.
That's the best city manager's report I've ever made.
And the shortest. Go for more like that.
Well, and the good news is the Broncos will definitely play a game.
Here we go.
Oh, wait, that was the endangered.
That was the endangered.
The Broncos will be in danger.
Beyond 16, truly. Future agenda items. Move on. The only thing I'd like to do is, I think it's about time that we revisit our CFD policy. I think it's about time that, I know we had a kind of a direction that we've been following, but I'd like to bring it back to talk about making it official, to change it over to getting rid of the idea of residential CFD for facilities, and kind of start making it a policy written. It's kind of been our direction, but I think it's about time we start committing to the public that I think we're done with that and going in a new direction. So, what do you think about bringing that back? Because every time, we start with Olive. When we came with Olive, when we said we don't want any facilities, but of course we're going to keep service and so forth. But is that a policy we want to start putting in stone, or is it something that we're just going to, you know, I'm just trying to get a direction so that we can make a commitment to the public that CFDs are not the way we do business anymore for facilities. So I think the public deserves that to know. I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints we have out there, and I think it's about time we make a commitment. So, I mean, it's for discussion. We're not doing anything yet.
Yeah, I guess for discussion, because we can't discuss it now.
Of course.
Right.
So if we're not
Bring it back.
opposed to that, then we put our discussion on it. So, okay. Anything else? Excuse me?
Do you have a specific date you'd like to bring that forward?
Well, it's going to take time for you to just, you know, put stuff together and talk about things. So I say as soon as you can get something going.
Can I suggest that we have a discussion first before you put any work into it?
You bet.
Because I think there's some things that we have to talk about as far as
But with that discussion, I would
what we
also.
can really do and what a future council can do. So we can't really do anything in stone that a future council can't undo.
No, but I think it'd be.
And we don't have any business, we don't have any development agreements that we can modify at this point. Olivewood was an unusual, so I don't know if this discussion is not.
Yeah, I want to start it now.
So I think we should have a general introductory discussion before.
But with that, you have to have details at least, so we know what we're discussing. So what is it we can and can't do, what are our options or directions we could go? You know, would it be beneficial? Would it be beneficial just to keep it the way we're doing things? That kind of stuff. So is that good? All right. All right, with that, then I think we're ready. 7:36. No, I was waiting for